Hi, everybody. Hope you can see and hear me okay. If you're joining me in Crowdcast right now, do say hello in our chat box. And I always love to see where you're from, what time zone it is. We have people globally all the time joining our trainings. So introduce yourself in the chat box. Tell us what you're here and what you're excited to learn about. Maybe share your side hustle idea. And let us know where you're from, of course, as well. I would love to meet you. And if you are watching this from one of our other platforms, we do live stream our trainings over to our Facebook pages and YouTube. So if you are sitting there, come on over to Crowdcast, because this is sort of where the real conversations will be happening. I'm going to be in just Crowdcast platform mode instead of checking all our different platforms. And there is a link that should be in the comments or the post on YouTube and Facebook if you're watching it from there to join Crowdcast. And that way you can be in our chat box on this side. You'll be able to submit questions that I can help answer for you live. And even if you have to jump off at some point, to cook dinner or do whatever you need to do in your days, we will be sending you a replay. So if you at least submit your question, I can timestamp it for you as I answer it at the end of the webinar so that you get your burning questions answered and my personal advice for you and your side hustle idea. So a little bit of housekeeping here before we get officially started and having the sort of last minute stragglers that sort of happens sometimes as people are busy getting off work and things like that. What I would love for you guys to do as well is if you can help me share this training. So a lot of people you may know that maybe where you're at as well that have been, thinking about starting something on the side, thinking about starting a business, but maybe unsure about the steps or is potentially in a midst of creating a business idea and launching it, but maybe finding it quite difficult to do all the things. And so what I'm going to be doing here in this webinar is breaking it down for you of what you should be focusing on as a new business owner, as someone who's starting out an idea for the first time. So if you know anyone that is going to benefit from this free training and you're here on Crowdcast, please go up top to the top right-hand corner and you'll see the invite button, and you can share it on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, or LinkedIn, whatever your poison. And that will be helpful as we support each other. And of course, I'm appreciative of you supporting this training here as well. The other thing that what we would love to sort of get you familiar with the Crowdcast platform, if you haven't been here before, underneath this video, there is a Ask a Question tab. So this allows me to sort of keep track of your questions as we go along. So you may have questions right away, right now, that you want to start asking. So you just click on the Ask a Question tab and submit your question right away. I know who it's from, and I can timestamp it for you when I do answer it. And throughout the webinar, as you're learning new things, very likely you, of course, again, will have questions. So keep sending those questions over, and then we can make sure to get to it as well. And another thing that will be helpful for us in terms of research is in every training we do a poll to understand you better and also to understand more around what we can help with. So every month I do webinar trainings at least a minimum of one time, sometimes twice, sometimes I think the last month we've done it every week because I was feeling inspired. And we have some great, chat shows that we do as well here with other experts, other influencers. And it's always great for us to know where you're at, what motivates you, what you're struggling with. And so if you're here in Crowdcast, please vote on the poll for the question that we have today, which is, what is your motivation to start a side hustle? And there's 4 options there, and pick the one that goes well with you. Or maybe if you have your top 2, you can pick 2 as well on the voting system, and we can see what sorts of things that we can actually develop in terms of learnings for you that can help you to increase that motivation for yourself and also understand what could be driving your actions, which is always a great thing for us to learn. As I said, we will be recording this webinar, so don't be afraid to jump off if you need to, but staying till the very end will allow you to get on here live with me and really ask your specific questions about your side hustle, right? You're going to have different struggles. You're going to have different fears. You're going to have different misconceptions potentially about why it is complicated for you right now to launch a side hustle. So, the way that I've worked always is I try to simplify those concepts for you. Very likely, you have been exposed to lots of, comparison games with other businesses online. You might be swayed to do particular things because someone told you to do that, and you see it happening, in the digital world, and that's sort of at times something you think you have to do, but may not be what is actually the most focused thing and most effective thing for you to do at your stage in your business. So we'll talk a lot more about this. But it's always great for me to do webinars like this because I get to communicate with you, talk to you, and make sure that we move you forward, right, with these big goals that you have as a business owner. And whether or not you're working full-time or whether or not you're starting your side hustle, you've quit your job, whatever it is, very likely a lot of what we're going to talk about today will affect you in the way of how you do this in a much more intelligent way, how you do this in a way that's going to bring you confidence rather than blindly just following what someone else is going to do. I'm going to challenge you to really think about your own business, thinking about what you need to do because your business is going to be different than everybody else's business as well. Okay. I'm going to start going through the webinar now with the slides, and I'll make this a little bit bigger so that you do see me in a little box perhaps, and then we can make this a little bit larger here as well. Just one moment here. Okay, so you should, in a few seconds, see the slide and the front page of the slide. Let me just take a look here. Let me see. So before I keep going, just in case my slides aren't showing properly, if you are here on Crowdcast, let me know you do see the screen the slides of the first slide. We have the 5-step framework of starting your side hustle is in yellow. If you can see it, then I can continue just to make sure I'm not talking to myself the entire time. And just pop into the chat box and let me know. Now, if you guys have any trouble sometimes, if it freezes or you can't hear me, what you will have to do is just sort of press refresh on your browser and you should be coming back to the live format. Our Crowdcast, thanks Angie and Kylie for letting me know. Our Crowdcast platform works best on Chrome. I know Chrome is like the master of all browsers these days. And it's a conspiracy, I'm sure. But if you're in Safari or Firefox, get off that, come back in on Chrome because it's going to run a little bit smoother for you, okay? And that will be a smoother experience as well for you. All right, so let's get started because I know you've had a busy day, very likely, and you want to relax. So hopefully I can end your day of work day in a much more positive note. Sometimes these webinars go a little bit over an hour. I should be honest, they do go over an hour because there's lots we talk about. There's questions that come after. So stay on if you can. We do cover quite a bit in this webinar, but as I said, the replay will be sent to you as well. So you're here to learn the 5-step framework of starting your side hustle. So as I said, you're probably very likely overwhelmed with the steps. I mean, I definitely felt this way every time I launched a business. I've launched 2 businesses in the time that I've quit my job. And each time, I tend to be a perfectionist. I tend to overcomplicate things by nature. And I too have had to learn how to actually be focused on working on things that actually help me to do great work rather than constantly just being distracted by shiny things, being distracted by things like launching or marketing, when actually in the beginning part of a side hustle or the beginning part of developing an idea for a side hustle requires you to do more holistic work. And we're going to cover what that looks like today. So this webinar is not about how to market your side hustle, because very likely if you're attending this webinar and you're in my tribe, you're in the beginning stage of, building this business, or you're in the beginning stage of selling an offer. And if you've been realizing that things like your marketing isn't doing well, or you can't seem to, maybe you built a great website and it looks beautiful, but no one's coming, you have no customers, that could also be a reason of the reason that's happening to you could also be very likely that you yourself as a business owner isn't clear about what the value of your work is, how to articulate the meaning of your work and why it matters to other people, and what it is that you truly do in terms of your transformation with your customers that's going to allow them to inquire more about your services, to want to read your blogs, to want to communicate with you in order to get more help with you, right? Hire you as the expert that you want to position yourself in. And if you are in the stage of not knowing what to offer, not knowing how your skill sets, your talents, your gifts, your experience so far equals to an offer, this webinar will also help you with that. It's going to help you to think about actually multiple passions and skills that you can combine into your business if you are indeed struggling with being a multi-passionate person, which doesn't have to be a curse. It can actually be an absolutely added value of people getting more out of you. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what that means towards this webinar as well. So lots of people skip the stage of creating that great foundational good work to start, because that is a very reflective stage of creating a business. It's less sort of sexy, like the stage of marketing. And actually, very likely, the visibility stage and marketing stage of your business will happen at the very end, right before you officially launch your business. But there's a lot of really great foundational work that you should be doing ahead of time to be clear on what your work is going to be about, to be clear on the steps and journey that you take your clients on, and to really understand what are your weapons of choice that you bring to the table. How does your combination of these superpowers that you come with, sometimes intangible skills and tangible skills, come into one body of work that you want to offer your clients, and really understanding why you should even exist in the first place, right? What is your true purpose of an impact that you want to really make with your work that is beyond the job title that you've given yourself, that's beyond the name of your business that you've given yourself, right? How many times we're stuck in labels, right? Labels of what we want to call ourselves to define our role, but it's so much more than that. Okay, and I want to sort of plant that seed in your head today. So you are in the right place if you want to learn more about how you can be more independent in the way that you earn a living as a small business owner. So whatever your motivation is to be a business owner, very likely part of that motivation is also having that autonomy, right? Having that autonomy to make these choices of how you want to make a living, having like better earning potential. If you choose to work more, if you choose to do more, if you choose to be smarter with the way you earn a living, you get rewarded for that, right? Something we don't get to experience sometimes in corporate jobs, because you make what you make. Sometimes you get a bonus, but there's less of a control over that earning potential for yourself. You may also be here if you want to know what business you should start, or you've started a business but you haven't yet really understood the full detail about what it's all about, and you're having a hard time telling people about it because very likely you too are unsure what the hell you are supposed to be doing and why people should pay for what you're doing as well. You're also here if you want to feel less overwhelmed on the steps to take to start your side hustle. You don't want to focus on 10 different things at once. That's draining you. You have a full-time job, very likely. You want to focus on what really matters, what's really going to move you forward from where you're at to where you want to go. So really outlining, knowing the sort of mini goals that it requires in your journey is going to help you to forecast what's to expect in the near future, but actually bring a majority of your attention to what you should be working on today, really feeling complete there before you actually move on to a stage that isn't meant for you right now, okay? We're gonna break that down as well for you. And ultimately, you wanna feel confident, right, about the work you create and make money doing it. Now, you could be the best kept secret and nobody knows about you. And very likely that confidence to promote your work, to talk about your work, to invite people to work with you, that is easier said than done, right? Some people are sort of natural, confident people, and some people aren't. 80% of my clients are introverts, and it's not that they're not smart about what they're doing and not that they're not passionate about what they're doing. They have a hard time actually being out there. And part of it is because they're trying to potentially market something that they haven't validated yet. They haven't been in the vicinity of working with that work they're trying to put out there. And that's why a lot of what we're going to be teaching today, or what I'm going to be teaching you today, is going to be about all these things that you want to prepare before you go on an official launch, so that you do feel confident when you sort of put your work out there publicly and know that what you're saying, what you're promising people is truly what you can deliver. So here's what we're going to be covering to help you a little bit with that. We're going to first talk about how to use your skills, your deep interest and experience to build a meaningful business. It's not just one skill or one job title, or one particular thing that you are going to bring forth to your new business. We want to think deeper, peel back that layer to really understand how utilizing several of your skills are going to build something unique for you. It's going to combine it with a deep interest that you can see yourself doing more work around in the near future, and really seeing how your body of work, even in the past, in your past resume, in your past personal life experience? Where are the themes that sort of binds for you that helps you to create a bigger message around your work as well? I know it sounds a little bit nebulous at times, but that's the thing with, body of work. It's not isolated to one thing. It's really understanding these themes that represent a cause, right? A value and a belief that you want to put out there that's going to motivate your clients and motivate you as well as the bigger outcome of what your work truly represents. We're also going to be covering effective ways to validate and test your side hustle. Anyone here, let me know in the chat box where, the thought of launching a business, the thought of telling people I'm charging for this now, scares the bejesus out of you, right? Like, and why does it scare you? What tell me in the chat box, why do you think you're hiding a little bit from exposing your business, exposing what you want to do with people into the world? For me, it's and a lot of clients that I've been working with, it's always about being unsure about whether or not what they're going to charge for is really, truly going to work. Is it going to provide that value? Is it really going to provide that transformation? So we're going to be talking a lot about this today, how you can do that without a website up yet, without having all your pretty things, like your branding up and running, and actually how to focus on actually testing out your work and validating your strategies, your process, whatever that is in your offer, before you actually go on an official launch. We're also going to start with identifying the stage of business you should be focusing on right now, and then being able to know the right actions that pertain to that focus of that stage. So I want to share this with you first after this slide, or a few slides probably, where you can self-diagnose or help you diagnose what stage of business you're truly in, so that when you find yourself doing things that you should not be doing right now and wasting time there, you can then bring your focus and attention back to what it is that matters most in the stage of business you're in. And that changes depending on the stage, because you sort of graduate from the clarity of each stage in order to do the next one. And I'll sort of explain what that means when we get into that segment. We're also going to be talking about harnessing the discipline and commitment to pursue your side hustle, right? No more back burner dreams, no more thinking, if I have time, I'll do it. If this is important to you, we have to set the conditions and prepare your environment in order for you to actually do this seriously, to actually be making some exchanges of time and focus in your life to have more time for this new goal, or probably a goal that's been around for a long time, but you haven't taken it as seriously, or you haven't known that actually you do have to carve out time for this. And how do we get our commitment level? How do we motivate ourselves and drive ourselves to commit fully to these goals that we want to have in conjunction with working full time, and making sure it is not a few years down the road where you start to think about it again and sort of go, I never started on it. So we want to sort of teach you a little bit about what sorts of things to prepare today and ongoing, to be honest, as an entrepreneur, that's going to get you to your version of success a lot faster. It's not the thing that gets you to success is never just about your expertise or how good you are at your job. Most of the people that are successful are not afraid to do things imperfectly. They're not afraid to do things when it doesn't feel, perfect right away. They put themselves out there and actually learn from that experience. We want to shift your mindset to be able to do that without feeling stuck, okay? And then lastly, we're going to talk about how you can stand out. How can you be yourself? How can you actually utilize your personality, utilize what you can hold unique to you, which is your story, your life experience, your approach, your perspective in your business, even if your business is the same as someone else out there. And very likely it is. There's very likely other people doing what you're doing. And how can you build that credibility, that visibility that you so require, especially as a new business owner, to be noticed in your new business? How do you organically do this for your first 6 months to a year without resorting to more complicated strategies that's very likely more beneficial for you in the future, with things like ads or, sort of more trickery ways to, get an audience? How do we do this in a holistic way that isn't going to feel difficult? It's not going to feel something that you have to learn again. It's going to actually be something that you want to do to be able to connect with the people you want to help the most. We're going to share a bit about that as well. So for all of you that are here for the first time, that's never attended a training, or maybe you've just been stumbled on my website for the first time and you've been invited to this webinar, I want to just give you a little snippet about who I am. My name is Lydia Lee, of course. I'm the founder and freedom instigator at Screw the Cubicle. My story started really where you're at the moment as well. You know, in the last 5 years, I've been helping to coach lots of professionals, lots of people that want to repurpose their gifts from their professional career or their personal life into a digital business. And now I specialize in digital businesses myself, being based in Bali as well at the moment. It's because travel is one of my passions, but I also believe that I gain a lot more perspective. I learn a lot about the world and myself, being able to be location independent. However, your motivation could be different. You could actually want to be at home with the kids. You might want to have the autonomy to choose where you do spend your days. Sometimes you want to be in Europe. Sometimes you want to be in North America. And that's sort of up to you. You don't want to be tied to a particular location. And the great thing about digital businesses is that you can have access to a global market. You can have access to people that are beyond your city, your country, and be able to build something on a bigger scale. I mean, a lot of you listening here in the webinar or part of my community are literally from all continents around the world. You know, how magical is that we can do that these days without ever leaving our living room, right? And still be able to maintain intimacy and personalization simply with the technology and the tools that we have available to us today. My belief is also that small businesses will change the future, not only the future of our lifestyles, but also the future of work. It's never been the best time ever to be able to do something in business that isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg. You know, back in the day, in our parents' days, if you wanted to own a business, you're looking at a physical business. You're looking at a huge investment of money in order to start something independent like a business. And nowadays, with the internet, with technology, you know, websites and blogs are so much easier to start. They're affordable to start. Anyone that can, you know, click will be able to sort of like paint by numbers, build a website, you know, and also really is your voice, is how you help that is actually going to draw people to it. So I really feel that this opportunity to be able to utilize technology in the day and age we live in to make a living is absolutely going to change the way you live. It's actually absolutely going to change the available resources available to you to learn more about being independent. And in how we affect the future of work is that even big businesses are looking at remote work as an opportunity to enhance happiness in the workplace. So some people don't want to be business owners. They don't want to own their own business, but they do want to be happy. That's what most people share in common. And so lots of studies have been shown that, you know, happier employees are just going to do better work, and having that autonomy to control their time produces better results. So that future is going to change. And there's been tons of studies shown, especially the trend of how things are going. By the year 2020, 50% of Americans and 50% of the Brits will actually be in some format a remote worker, you know, whether it's an independent freelancer, a business owner, or a remote worker for a company. So times are changing. And so if you are here learning more about what that looks like, this is great because you're sort of upskilling yourself with what to expect so that when things change in the near future, you are familiar with this process. You're familiar about what it takes to go digital. And I think we've got to move with the changes or be left behind. And I also believe that your great work to help others will help you earn a great living. It isn't about snazzy websites, a great brand. I have tons of clients that have just like a plain, simple one-page site and make an amazing amount of money, not because of just how they look like outside of, you know, as a brand, but really, truly, it reflects on the great work they're putting out there. And that is my true belief. It's not to teach you more about how to monetize on Instagram or how to have a great Pinterest account that looks great and draw in the clients, because you can have a great list or you can build your list from ads and, you know, all the things that you can do. But ultimately, your success and your sustainability of your business really depends on your level of help and your quality of your help and how people rave about the work that you want to do and really be part of your movement in order to be fans of yours, right? In order to be, you know, people that support your work as well and be able to share that ongoing or have repeat clients about your business, which I think is super important as longevity in your business as well. Okay, so what do we have coming for you? So after this webinar, when we send you the replay, because a lot of people ask this question of what business should I start, we are sending you a free workbook called the Dream Business Mind Map. We're going to be emailing this to you. It's going to be fillable. It's going to give you some constructive questions about what you should be asking yourself when it comes to taking inventory, about what you're good at, about what your deep interests are. And then what you're going to learn from this webinar, you can apply obviously to the workbook, and it's going to make that mean something a bit deeper for you and help you get your ideas together on what sorts of businesses or ideas or angles are something that you want to test out, something that you want to pursue as your side hustle. So that will be coming to you in an email. And a lot of the framework, actually all of the framework of what we are learning today in the most sort of general overview form for this training is what we teach very, very intimately in all our programs, including our 7-day Bali retreat that's coming up from April 22nd to the 28th in Ubud, Bali, which is where I've been based in the last 5 years. If you're not familiar with Ubud, it is sort of what the book and the movie Eat, Pray, Love has been made famous, or made Ubud famous in the book. But Ubud is more than that. It is what Forbes have called the startup haven for a lot of digital nomads and new businesses. It's been coined Silicon Bali because it attracts with such a low living cost and access to other entrepreneurs, co-working spaces, and a lot better internet these days than ever was before. A space for people to launch ideas, and it is such a peaceful, tranquil place for us to do an incubation like a 7-day retreat to actually get you focused on your journey, your plan, your strategies of how you can transition from a full-time job or the mindset of an employee into a much more independent entrepreneur mindset and be able to actually focus on developing your ideas, getting feedback for your ideas, learning how to pitch your ideas and talk about your work, and actually build the process and framework for your own work so that when you go back from Bali and go back to wherever country you came from, you know exactly what you need to be doing in your personal plan of how you launch. So it's not a paint by numbers course. It's very integrative. It's very collaborative in how we help you plan out your strategies, right? And learning with other people is a great thing because very likely you're feeling very lonely in building your own business, and having like-minded people that are doing the same things, having the same goals, don't think you're absolutely nuts, for wanting an unconventional life, is going to change everything for you. So if you are, I only run these retreats once a year. So if the timing is right and you want to learn in a deeper manner of what we learned today and actually get it done in a lot of expedited speed, doing it with me, a few mentors, as well as a group of 10 people, that is a very intimate environment that we're going to be doing it in Bali. Please click on the button below this video. It's a green button on Crowdcast to learn more about the retreat and actually book a free discovery call with me so that I can diagnose where you're at. We're going to see if the retreat is a good fit for you, and we can talk more about what my advice can be for you in terms of your starting plan for where you're at today. All right, so we're going to start with your stage of business because this helps you to put some context about why we're learning what we're learning today. Your stage of business determines what you should be focusing on. How many of us, raise your hand in the chat box if a lot of what you've been doing in terms of activities is just like looking at pretty things, right? Thinking about your website, thinking about your business name, thinking about what you should call yourself, thinking about how you want to package yourself, and branding stuff, right? What your logo should be, what your colors should be. And again, you're not alone, right? In feeling this way, because every time we get inspiration from our, people we love online or we follow, or even, if you're here, you probably have looked at my website and it's planted some seeds, right, in your head about, oh my God, I need that too. I need to do video. I need to do that. And very likely you are here because that's what you see first, right? You're looking at someone who's been 5 years in business, 2 years in business, 10 years in business, and you're comparing yourself in the stage that you're in to someone else's stage. But in a way that isn't actually quite logical, because if you're starting, Angie says guilty, you're not the only one, Angie, trust me. I definitely did it, and I still do it sometimes because, the comparison game is so addicting and tempting, but it never makes us feel good, okay? So Kylie says, I'm in business for about 6 months, but still lost with a lot of this, but I know I want to be location dependent. For sure. It doesn't even, for Kylie, there's so many people that have been trying it out for so long and not getting anywhere. Again, very likely, potentially they've been focusing on something that isn't helping them move forward. They might be jumping the gun. They've been focused on marketing and social media and all the things they think they have to be doing to be noticed, instead of actually really knowing what to put out there based on the foundational part of their work, which hopefully you'll learn a bit more about that today. And that gives you a bit more traction actually in your marketing when you can do some of the other stuff beforehand. So when you compare yourself to another business, the problem is you aren't clear about how they got there in the first place. So you're really let's say if you're in your first year of business, you're in grade 1, right? Comparing yourself to a grade 10 or grade 5 person in business. And those people have different types of activities. Those people have different types of focuses because they're in a very different stage of their business. They have different priorities. They have different things to leverage, So in a grade 1 stage of business, in your first year, for example, those activities are very different. Those activities are about your own alignment to the value of your work. It is about your own holistic way of inviting people into your brand without relying on automation. It is about better, realer conversations that we're going to talk about today, what that looks like, and actually to stop focusing on the trickery stuff, the pretty things, and actually getting good about your business on a personal level in order to be more confident with things like marketing. So Kylie, if you're listening, I would love to know actually, what have you been doing in the last 6 months that you don't think has given you traction? And what do you feel, if you diagnose what is really missing in the gap of confidence or knowing what to do next, what do you think is missing that you potentially need to be working on in order to get to a bigger goal? All right, so let's talk about your stage of business. Let's talk about the first stage to start with, which is foundations, okay? Stage 1 is foundations. And I always compare this analogy to building a house, right? So when you build a house, the foundations is key, right? You're going to hire a land surveyor to make sure that land is proper. It's not like a sinking land. It's not having like a bad base. I'm not a builder, so I'm probably saying the wrong terms for it. But you do, hire the engineer, you hire the architect first, and then you hire the interior designer when your house is potentially more planned out or built to be able to know how to decorate it, right? We have to know the frame of the house. We have to know how many rooms there may be. Where's the front door facing? What does that blueprint really look like? And so that really applies to business as well. We have to know the foundations of our business in order to know how we market, how we brand ourselves, how we position ourselves. We cannot start decorating our house before really understanding how our house is going to look like. So some of the key things of a foundation stage of activities are identifying a business idea, obviously, right? Knowing how your skills, so not just being vague in your business idea. Let me take a sip of coffee. Not being vague in your business idea, but actually understanding the ingredients of this business idea that combines your knowledge, your expertise, particular skill sets, particular perspectives or approaches or strategies that you want to bring to the table, right? To be able to tell people, hey, even though I might offer something similar to other people, here's how I want to get you there. Here's how I know that how I get you there from this approach is going to be faster. It's going to be much more empathetic, whatever it is that you believe in how you get people there, and being able to paint that journey about what people will experience when they do hire you. Your idea should also mean something to you, not just only to your customers, but how can your idea be created to be more meaningful for you? How do you position your idea to serve particular audiences that can benefit more from your business skills or your talents or your gifts you bring to your business? How does your idea link to a higher impact or value that you want to be contributing to through your idea as a bit of a ripple effect to the outcomes that you want to stand by, that you can stand behind and go, yep, I'm proud that my work leads people to this bigger outcome. That is beyond my control, but part of my piece of the pie is to help them with this piece first and then let them go forth into the world and do their thing. What sorts of causes do you want to be backing, right? This is very reflective. It's very personal. It's nothing to do with business stuff sometimes. It's really to do with personal alignment with your work. It's also getting clear about who you want to serve. So if you're not sure about that, you sort of want to serve everybody, or you think you should serve everybody, very likely you should be here, understanding what that looks like for you, understanding who that customer is, and being able to understand what their problems are deeply, right? And being able to identify which customers are better for you, and who aren't, And so being able to be in your customer's shoes and being able to use market research, interviewing people, talking to your customers. If you haven't been talking to your customers or people that fit in the profile of your potential customers, very likely that's why you are confused about what it is that you should create. That's actually going to solve people's problems. Okay, so a lot of people skip this because they don't think they should be talking to other humans until they have a real big blown business out there. And that's actually the wrong way to do it, because your business solutions are not about you. It really is about your customer, the person that's going to be paying for it. So you have to get the information and the data from the horse's mouth. You cannot guess about what you think you should create. We have to put ourselves out there and have a little bit of an ask campaign. You can do that really holistically. I'm going to break that down for you here as well in the webinar, about how you can be using conversations as a way to market research about how you can position your offer, how you can create an offer that is going to hit the mark for the people, and it is validated based on your questions, right? You're also here on the stage if you want to know what you need to create to solve these very problems through that market research. So if you are unsure what to offer, if you don't know what your work is all about, you can't truly articulate why you should be doing what you're doing, very likely you're here at this stage, okay? You should not be thinking about marketing. You should not be thinking about visibility. You should not be really thinking about, like how to make things look really pretty in your site, or even doing videos or whatever, or writing blogs, whatever you think you have to do. You need to be focusing on building this house first and really being clear personally about what that looks like for you, doing those interviews, understanding your customers' problems, outcomes, and their issues and struggles that they truly are facing, so that you can create a solution that's going to be pretty kick-ass and you're not second guessing whether or not this thing is going to be valuable. Okay, that's stage one of foundations. Stage two is validation. After you know your foundations, you know why your work should exist and why it matters to other people, then we want to validate it to go, okay, if these are solutions that I need to create, here's my approach of how I want to lead people through to these goals that they've identified they wanted. I need to see, it looks great on paper, but I really want to see if this is truly going to create that transformation that I anticipate. So we're going to use your assumptions about what you think you should create, how you think you're going to help, what you think your outcomes will very likely be for your customers by testing it with real humans. And so this is almost like a staging area stage, right? So if you haven't worked with anyone in any capacity in your business idea, very likely you skip this stage and you've maybe gone, again, too fast forward into marketing, and hence why you're having trouble knowing how to market yourself, knowing how to talk about your work, knowing how to invite people into your world, because you don't yet know what it feels like from the other perspective of how what it feels like to work with you. You haven't gotten feedback. We need feedback to feel validated. So, that's a stage that, again, a lot of people skip. So being able to test your business offer with real humans at the stage of validation is going to allow you to see, first of all, if you like the work. Sometimes your question is like, oh, I don't want to invest time and money into this business because I'm not sure. Maybe I like it, maybe I don't. I can't tell. Well, if you're going to beta test it with a human, you're going to know really quickly in a few sessions or a few, days or weeks of when you do work with someone, whether or not you like the work, whether or not you enjoy this type of customer, and what they say is really valuable to them, that they find the most, effective of the way that you help. And those are the key data and insights you want to be absorbing in order to know the words to be using to market yourself, in order to know how people perceive the value within your work, which may not be what you think, and be able to utilize their language, and their perspective about your help to use in the positioning of your marketing. In validation stage, you're also using it, again, as a staging area to be able to safely refine and improve your offer. So you're not doing that improvement during a paid client, right? Because then that's not going to work. You're going to feel really bad about, making mistakes and things like that. But the beta test stage of validation allows you to make mistakes. That is the point. It is really telling the customer, I'm inviting you on this exchange that is going to allow us to not only test out what I believe I can help with, but you're going to get maybe this service for free as an exchange of you giving me feedback along the way of what worked, what didn't work for you. And I'm able to, together you'll still get my help, but I'm going to be able to improve what I'm doing as well through your feedback and know how I can help you better in the near future. And nobody says no really to an exchange like that, because you are someone that is committing and investing in them too. So you know that you're going to be there for them, throughout the entire beta test and be able to give them value in some capacity. And another really great benefit of beta testing in the validation stage is being able to get testimonials for credibility, right? How many of us sort of at the verge of, launching a business, have a website, right? We want to launch a website, and we sort of go, well, why should people trust me? Why should people even think that I am good at what I'm doing? And that is a valid question, because really, very likely when you hire someone as well in the online world, you are looking for testimonials. You're looking for social proof in some way. You're looking for credibility. So that doesn't change for your business either. So the question is, how do you build credibility when you haven't launched a business, right? Because if you put yourself out there and you're saying, I'm going to build credibility through my first paid client, well, it's going to be hard to get to the first paid client without credibility to start with. I know it's sort of like cart before the horse thing, but it's also at the end of the day, what's necessary. So this part of validation is going to allow you to do just that without officially launching just yet. There's an honest exchange. There is an invitation for this exchange where you're not saying, this is my official offer and this is what I'm charging for right away. You're using them as case studies and be able to also give them value along the way. So getting those testimonials after that beta test stage is done, getting those testimonials up and running in your website is going to help you to have that for yourself, ahead of time before you officially launch as well. Then after you've tested, right, after you go through foundations, you've gone through the level of testing your ideas, being more confident about being in the vicinity of your work, knowing how you actually bring people to results, you're going to feel a little bit more confident about finally marketing your business. So that brings us to stage 3, which is visibility. Right? Visibility is about marketing, but it's also about showing off your gifts, showing off your talents, giving away your expertise as a way to build an audience. Actually, even when you have built an audience, it's an ongoing thing 5-10 years later to continue to help, not just for paid clients, but in a way that is going to draw in new clients to be interested in your work. So being seen, right, in your work and your business is part of the visibility stage. Here's where you will start to identify how your audience will know you exist, like as in what is your style of influence? What's your best way of delivering the value of your work? What is your sort of natural ways of actually teaching or helping or showcasing your gifts? So not everybody should do videos. Not everybody should blog, right? Not everybody should do webinars. It all really depends on what is the best way to deliver the style of work you're going to be doing, what's going to impact your audience the most, and in a way also what you feel less sort of pulling teeth, right, to do. You don't want to do something that doesn't feel genuine, right? Your audience will know that. So I'm more of a talker than I am a writer. So I write less, right? Because writing costs me more time. And also, to be honest, sometimes I just use very like jargony words, in my blogs because I'm overthinking it because I can backspace and edit. Whereas with talking like a live webinar like that, I can't go backwards. I just have to sort of trust myself to go. And that seems to actually be easier for me, even though it might scare the pants off of someone else who doesn't really, resonate with that style of communication as much. So really not looking at what your competitors are doing at this stage is really looking at how do you want to start conversations as a way of marketing, right? Knowing that style of influence really does affect what platforms, what marketing strategies that you should be doing, and mastering one or two of them rather than doing all platforms or everything that you think you need to do to market. Visibility is also positioning your brand, right? Having a point of view that is strong enough that separates you from another person that is doing what you're doing. And sometimes your point of view may actually anger other people, but it will also draw in the right person that is aligned with your style and the values or the perspectives that you have about that work. So to be known for your expertise, to have a voice, requires you to actually show it. And yes, you will piss some people off because you'll never actually please everybody. And that is sort of part and parcel of, marketing yourself in order to filter some of the people that will never be good for you and attract the right people that should be for you. And in your visibility stage, you are essentially not just trying to get paid clients. You're building a community, building a tribe of people that can self-help each other. They are fans of your work. They are people that will stick with you even beyond the times they buy from you, right? That's super important especially if you're in a service-based business. We rely on other people to help us with our business, support us through that as well. So if you are in this stage of visibility, but you are not, let's say you haven't been doing some of the stuff we talked about from stage 1 and 2, you may want to take this pause on the stage and actually go backwards and actually start to complete some of those stages first before coming into visibility, because very likely that's actually going to be helping you more effectively to understanding the words, the languaging that you need to be articulating in order to be better at the visibility and marketing stage, okay? All right, so let's start into the steps of the framework of what it is that we need to be paying attention to. Even if you think you've done these steps, it's great to sort of go back and review that and sort of go, did I do that in the depth that will have the biggest understanding for me to keep going on with my side hustle, right? So the first step is starting the right business. So whether or not you've already started a business is a great one to revisit, to sort of go, how can I make this existing business idea better for me? How can I make it more valuable for my clients? How do I make it more meaningful for me as a business owner and have more meat into the business that I want to start? Or this step could also help you to understand where to focus on, which businesses to pick, and what are the ones you want to back and test to begin with before you officially pick one to start. So when you're thinking about a business idea or validating a particular business you have already started, you do want to think about what you're really good at, not about what you think people want to hear, but really what you think you're good at based on feedback in the past, based on probably how people have already been coming to you for free, or what feels really natural for you to do, or just you're drawn to help with, right? Sometimes it's just simply saying, you want to help empower women. That isn't a job title, right? But it is a cause that you want to back, right? It is something that you feel inspired to do, and people feel that you do help them in regards to that particular value. Think about all the times people have given you feedback around positive things that you've been good at that you may not have noticed. Think about your jobs that you've ever gone through and been promoted for, or been given some validation in the first place, and make a list of all those things that is able to give you clues about your expression, about the way that you help, and see where those common themes potentially may lie for you. And then again, something I've just been talking about, what causes or passions do you want to back? Sometimes when we look at business, we always think of skills only, and we think of like very tangible, like I can write, I can design websites, I can be a great nutritionist, right? It's great to sort of know those skills that you have, but ultimately there's a bigger picture about what these skills represent. Why are you using these skills in order to do, like, what are you doing that's something bigger? What is that ripple effect? What is the bigger message that you truly want to share if you can help people do particular things, right? What causes or passions do you want to back? And that is a great question, because when you do look at a variety of business ideas you do come up with, or skills that you want to perform in, you can start to think about how that links to that bigger cause. For example, if you're a copywriter, well, you could technically write for anyone. You could, but how are you going to make it more meaningful and more exciting or motivational for you? You might decide to write for a particular audience that is in the vicinity of a cause you care about. Maybe it's women that don't have a voice and you want to write for them. Maybe on a bigger picture, you believe that, business owners are going to change the world. You love entrepreneurs. You love how they're visionaries. And you might instead want to write for entrepreneurs, how to help them create more impact with their work through better messaging, or better branding copy around their work, so people can find them, people can be attracted to them, and they can create more impact through the words that they use, So you can angle your skills to many, many different things, but what isn't going to change is potentially your interest in particular causes. This thing that you say, not on my watch, what am I wanting to contribute to that's really meaningful for me? And then you can utilize all the skills and experience to actually be backing that particular cause, which I think is a much more interesting way to look at what business should I start. So what do you feel most interested to help in? Who do you feel most interested to help with? Those are great questions to also take inventory of, to give you some clues about a business focus. And also importantly, what can you do easily today that can be repurposed into a business you can love. So not about what you think you have to learn for the future, but what can you do today? You know, what is right for right now is going to be much more essential for you to start and actually build your body of work from what you can do today. And it isn't ever going to be, you know, what you start today will not be the thing you die with all the time. We're not always the next Gandhi or the next Mother Teresa, where our life's work is presented to us this very minute and we die with that same cause. A lot of times we need to go with what we know today about ourselves and back our work with, you know, putting what work we know to do best in today, and let that work sort of open us up into a different door, into a different, you know, expression or expansion of our work, and then do more with it in the near future. You might have several businesses in the near future. You might have several ways of expanding from the work you do today. I mean, Screw the Cubicle has changed probably angles multiple times. And that's because I grew as a human. I changed in my perspectives. I changed in the ways that I've learned better things. So of course, my business changes with that in order to even be more in mastering some of the work that I'm doing today. So don't be afraid to look at just what you know today and not think too far into the future, because if you do that, you're going to get stuck. You're going to be waiting for a Gandhi moment. And that Gandhi moment is only going to happen if you actually do something to honor the gifts that you have today and start helping people with what you're capable of today. So finding that common thread of your best work, as I mentioned in themes, sometimes is a better question, you know, or an answer for yourself to gain some clarity on what has been my body of work about. What has been all the things that I've been doing. If I forget the job titles, I forget the SOP of what I was told to do at work. Why was I attracted to that role in the first place? What do I really do in the work that I really enjoy? And even if your jobs look different, there might be some common thread that binds. There might be some things that you truly enjoyed about each role that gives you a clue again of what your new ingredients of work in your new business needs to include. And those are important things to notice. Clues are always every hour of the day a part of our lives. Whether we notice them or not is a different story. So one of the clues that I thought, even though I had like 5 different industries in my resume, it looks like 5 people's resume, one of the common threads for me in my old job was always about building better relationships with people, building better or giving people access to opportunities or options that didn't exist before I could give that to them. That happened to me when I was a business development director of a school. It happened to me when I was planning weddings for people in a hotel. You know, that juice, you know, the ingredients of what I bring to that role still exists in the role I play in Screw the Cubicle. It's always about people. It's always about relationships. And it's always about helping people do more in a particular aspect of their life. So I could have chosen being a relationship coach if I wanted to, which could still apply to all my skills. But I choose to do this set of work about business building and, you know, a more freedom-based lifestyles, because that is just something more meaningful for me today. You know, something that touches my heart a little bit more deeper. So I choose this work at this point is my best work. But maybe 5 years from now, 2 years from now, even, I might switch gears depending on where my life changes. But potentially those ingredients don't change, right? They can be repurposed into different offers, different businesses, potentially even. And that doesn't, you know, pigeonhole you into something forever. You can also create your own unique niche by combining your skills, right? Combining different variations of your skills. So let's say your primary skill set you are, you know, bringing together is copywriting, but it doesn't have to stand just to copywriting. You can think about what makes you a better copywriter, what makes your approach to writing excellent things your jam, right? Maybe the skill of being a great storyteller or being a great interviewer of another human to extract that information and story out of them makes your writing more powerful. Maybe it's about helping someone else write better. So you are able to teach or coach someone on articulating their voice, making them feel more confident about showing their voice despite adversity. And your empathetic, sympathetic nature is also part of your skill set to really work with the right people that need that. Right? Or maybe another skill set you bring to the table, including in conjunction with copywriting, is your, you know, approach to be able to help people really use that voice in different types of formats. So not just writing for websites, but you can actually be able to help with multiple things in a business. You can write their speeches, you can write their sales pages, you can write their descriptions on their LinkedIn profiles to really have a consistent voice across the platforms. Maybe not everyone else can do that, but you can. So it really just depends on what you come with, and actually being able to combine all the skills can absolutely bring your business into a very different light and position you very differently from other people that could be doing the same thing. And also, at this point of when you look at your skills, it's not only just look at causes and interests and your skills, but really understanding at the end of the day, when someone can work with me, when I can give this experience to someone, when I can help someone, what problems am I truly solving? So for a copywriter, using the same example, you might think the problem is just, okay, they have greater copy on their website, but it might be more than that. It might be that through the process of working with you, they now remember why they're doing that business in the first place. They're much more aligned with the bigger values they share in their business. Maybe they forgot all about that because they're trying to, just monetize their business and forgotten about the reason why they started it. Perhaps from the process and experience with you as a copywriter, they started to realize that actually a lot of the things that they were doing to sell themselves were actually disingenuous. And there's a much more easier and more authentic way for them to express their voice that feels like them. And it brings more confidence in the way that they talk about their business. So you can see there's so many mini problems that leads to, the outcome of that needs to be solved in order to lead to the outcome of better writing in a business. So be able to think backwards and thinking by using those interviews I talked about and understanding problems will again allow you to go, how do my skills, my knowledge, my expertise contribute to solutions for these problems? And that's going to give you, again, more detail about what you need to build actually in your offer and your skills to be able to be valuable to other people. Okay, if you have any questions about that initial step, please submit the question or ask it in the chat box, and Bettina will make sure to paste that question into our Ask a Question tab. I know this is the step that really trumps a lot of people, and that's why I want to give you that workbook to start after this webinar to help you articulate those ideas. Okay, moving on to step 2. After you know a bit more about yourself, your skills, where you want to position those skills, what you want to solve, what causes you want to back, we want to, again, validate, right, with other people. Hey, do you have this problem? Do you struggle with this? Are my assumptions correct about what I think I have to help with? Well, we have to use the power of asking to know what you should create. And we have to involve other humans in this process. So this is what step 2 is all about. Getting into real conversations are going to get you the answers you need. Stop brainstorming by yourself. Stop guessing. We need to start talking to people to dig out these problems. So for any of you listening right now, where you're having trouble, knowing what you need to offer or knowing how you help, again, very likely you are not talking to enough humans. You are all in your head and less out there in the field of play, which is so much more important to actually be getting clarity for your business. So I do this in a very holistic process. You don't have to do things like surveys or get it complicated here, okay? All you have to do is start to think about people you know today, and very likely who you believe you want to help. You probably know someone, that fits that profile. It could be friends, it could be colleagues, it could be family, it could be people in your Facebook list right now. If you post that question or you sort of go, hey, I wonder if any of you guys are suffering with this, you want to do that, I want to speak to you. You will get some replies. You just have to ask, right? Or very likely also, you are the avatar. Very likely, you might also be building a business that solves a problem that you had 2 years ago, that you could have been actually your best customer. I mean, definitely Screw the Cubicle was this kind of business. I built it in a way to sort of go, holy shit, I needed someone like this back in the day. But instead I had to hire a therapist and a different coach. And I wish there was just one area, one person that could help with these sort of emotional things that I'm going through and the business practical things. And I had to jump in to help myself in that sense. So what I've had to go through, what I've had to struggle with, what I've had to be more aware of, I am now bringing to the table in the business to help other people that are in the stage of where I was before and expediting their results, right? So very likely your avatar is also you. So start thinking about what problems you had even in the past that you could be solving today, now being sort of future you and knowing more about those problems. But really getting those interviews intact and starting those interviews, just pick 3 to 5 people to interview. I like to do something called a 30 for 30 exchange, which is 30 minutes of you picking their brain on what they're suffering with, what keeps them up at night, what problems they want to get solved, and then exchanging it with 30 minutes of free time that they can pick my brain. They can get strategies and advice from me, and you're going to help them as organically as possible. And I think it's great practice for you to be in front of someone helping, because that's going to truly get you to the clarity of the value of your work anyway, by actually doing the work right in real life, rather than, again, hiding behind a computer screen and hoping that your work is valuable. So what do you need to know when you interview your clients? What are sort of the things that you want to be focusing on to make that ask campaign or interview matter to what you want to create? So you want to be looking for how people are describing their problems, right? Take note of the words they choose to use. Take note of how they describe their emotions, how they feel about that struggle. Why do they believe that's challenging, right? And what it is, their outcome that they want. What is the goal, the bigger goal, if they can get these problems solved? We want to forecast what are the things that we also need to be saying in our marketing of this better picture, this bigger picture of the future that we can be helping them get to if we can help them to solve these problems, right? And knowing what problems to solve is going to affect the how for you. It's going to affect your processes, your structure of your offer, what you choose to teach or coach on potentially, or help them learn. That is going to be part of your steps, part of your framework of getting people from A to B. It's very helpful to know problems. You want to also think about what they need to learn to achieve these goals, right? Like, how do they want to learn it? Are they someone that wants someone to do it for them? Are they someone that wants to learn how the skill set to do it for themselves? If there's other obstacles in terms of emotional obstacles that come with that job, do you need to coach them through that as well? How important it is for them to have someone empathetic in that regard for that particular problem? So being able to know what they need to learn and how they need to learn it, again, can help you formulate how you deliver your offer as well. You also want to be really asking them, what have they tried before? I love this question. They obviously have been, struggling for a long time. That's why they're now ready to pay someone to help them. What have they tried before? What have they, have they tried reading books? Did they do course after course? Did they try to, get into a program that they couldn't finish? Why did that happen? Really understanding what they've tried and why it didn't create traction, again, could help you understand how you can do it differently, how you can formulate a different approach to make sure that doesn't happen for them again. Right? So one of the things that I found out from my people is that they don't want more information. They want to actually have a space where they can execute without feeling like they're going to talk themselves out of things. They don't want to feel lonely anymore launching a business. So, I could have thought, hey, it's just more information about how to launch a business. But actually what they want is accountability. They want a tribe of people. They want to have a place that they can get answers in real time and not to be researching on Google constantly, right? They don't want to read anymore about step by step. They want to start doing, but they're afraid to do it on their own. So that's a really interesting thing for me to find out, and how that affects even my programs, of my retreats to my group programs every year, of how I make that environment a much more effective environment for them that answers that problem, and not just selling people more information, but actually creating the ingredients of a great program. So for me, I have live stuff, and I have, communities that I built where people talk to each other. I bring in other mentors. I let my community even teach each other, where I support them, because I know that they need a staging area to start testing out their own trainings, so that isn't something I used to do. I was more of a talking head in a way of giving more information, but throughout time, knowing and understanding my customer allows me to be more creative in the way that I actually present my offer and how I invite people to a better environment, a better offer that they may not find elsewhere. All right, step 3. Hopefully that was good motivation for you to understand why asking is excellent for you and the customer, but also it may help you to prompt you to say, I may not have done that, and maybe I need to get some calls, and I need to actually do my interview before I actually beta test or market my business. So that moves us on to step 3, validation, right? So now you know a little bit about your own skill sets, yourself, your foundations of your work. You've also now conducted interviews and market research, understanding the problems. Now you want to test out these assumptions, right? Test out the validation of working those steps, that framework you created based on the problems you found out. And you want to know, okay, let's go into game mode and start to test out where I can make mistakes and improve along the way. Well, we have to do it through the feedback of another human. We're going to stop guessing, less assumption, and more doing as a way of, improving our work, right? I always say, let's stop trying to look good in our business and let's start being good in our business. And this validation stage of beta testing and real work with humans is going to allow you to master, the work that you want to put out there a lot more efficiently. So what are the benefits of validation and a beta test stage of a business? Well, it's going to give you the confidence you need to start working with real humans, but also it's that staging area you get to make mistakes on before you actually start working with paid clients, which is very likely what you need to feel better about actually marketing your business. In the beta test and beta lab stage, it's going to allow you to refine and improve. So you can make mistakes. That is the whole point of beta. You don't have to be perfect. So working through a customer, you're going to get pushback. You might see areas that are really great for customers where they're like, oh my God, I want more of that. Or I want to go deeper into that. And that might prompt you to go, okay, I need to get another module going for that. Or I need to create better exercises for my customer around that problem. So whatever it is, it allows you to improve it and actually make you feel a lot more confident before you officially market that offer and really understand how people are articulating your customers, right? Your beta customers are articulating why you're so great or what that really helped with or what obstacle you really help them to overcome. And you can use that languaging, use that messaging into your sales pages, into the way you market yourself, into your social media posts, and really be more specific about what really happens for people throughout the journey of work with you. As I mentioned, you to get credibility, right? You're going to know that you want to do it based on this beta test, and other people get value out of it. And that's going to make you feel confident and also arm you with social proof, arm you with saying, I have done this with 3 to 5 people. Here's what we did together. Here's what they got out of it. Don't take it from me. Get it from these people, right? That are other humans just like you that experience working with me. So that's going to, again, add more oomph to your social proof and your website positioning as well of your brand to put that in there. And that beta lab is going to help you do just that. And then on a personal level, you're going to know if you like the work. You're going to know if there are particular customers you're like, never again. You're going to know that there's a particular mindset potentially or an attitude of a customer that is just a better match for you. Just like in the real world of relationships, we don't date everyone on the planet, right? We sure as hell shouldn't be working, with everyone on the planet. I mean, I did the same thing, guys. So when I started I took on 8 guinea pig clients in order to see whether or not I liked the work, because coaching was new to me. I was like, what's a coach? Is it a therapist? Is it like a Tony Robbins style? Like, what does that look like? And so I wouldn't have known unless I did it and I sort of understood what that feels like. And then what I realized from taking these 8 clients, I would probably never work with about 4 of them. Not because they don't have the right problems that I can solve, but just purely simply based on like fit. Like they couldn't stand, my sort of targeted, very direct way of giving, advice and challenging them. They wanted a little bit more like a therapist style, that I wasn't. I'm very empathetic in all sorts of ways, but I'm an action-based person. I'm better working with people who want to take action. They're afraid and they might be shaking, but I'm here to help them take action. They're not here to just keep regurgitating history and the past constantly. I want to move forward with people, and that's not everyone's style. I may also not want to work with people who are sort of like, I don't know, I don't want to be involved. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. I don't like that. That's really not fun for me. I want it to be collaborative. I want people to be involved. They want to be involved. They want to learn for themselves, and they don't want to be told what to do, nor do they want to follow just a 10-step plan in order to get there. They want to contribute to their personalized plan, and that collaboration is what I enjoy as well. So that beta test allowed me to know what to look for that is not a good fit, what questions I should be asking before I say yes to working with someone, and actually send them off to someone else if that isn't a good fit, and be much more having healthy boundaries about who I am truly inviting to work with me. And I think that is something we want to always think about even though in the beginning we're like, oh my God, clients, yay, I'll just take on anyone. But actually, having a bad client that isn't a good fit, or you took it just because you have the pressure of just making some money, could actually taint the way you feel about your business at times. It's like tainting your relationships. Like if you dated someone horrible, it doesn't make you want to be in another relationship, right? You have to sort of go, oh my God, it's just isolated to that person. Relationships aren't a bad thing, right? But the same thing goes for your business. If you do not listen to your instincts, not really articulate who you want to work with, you can very well end up like working with people you don't want to work with, and then it taints your enjoyment. It brings you displeasure, and then in due time you're going to go, I don't really want to do my business anymore. But what it actually may be is that you've just been working with the wrong people. I definitely felt that in my first 6 months of business. And how you validate your side hustle, again, is through the beta testing, but it can be very simple. It's sort of what a concept of what I've been using in the beginning of Screw the Cubicle, that I wanted to do things simply. I didn't want to organize some sort of huge campaign around it. I didn't want to launch a full-blown website before I did it. I wanted just to make sure on a personal level and on a value level that people get what I'm putting out there and I like what I'm putting out there. So this is just very holistic. It's about gathering a handful of ideal customers. So very likely if you did the interview process in the Ask campaign, they could also be the right people that interviewed with you that you liked. They could be invited to be the beta testers, right? You don't have to look any further than maybe potentially some of the people you already interviewed. Or you just know someone in a Facebook group you're in, or a friend that is, that profile of that customer, and you're going to invite them personally. No lead magnet, no blog post, no website to do it. Call them. Send them a message, email them and say, hey, I really want to help you. I've noticed this thing you're trying to put out there or you've been feeling, and I want to do work around this. And I'm willing to exchange my advice and my knowledge and my genuine help for you in exchange for your feedback about this work that I want to do now. And use their feedback as a way to improve your offer. Let them know you are collaborating with me so that I can help you, but also you're helping me do better work in the world. Will you be my ally for this? And when you are able to invite people personally, then you can handpick people, right? You can know more about this journey you're going to be taking with them, and know that if you're spending a month with them in this beta test, for example, is someone you actually like, is someone that is like ready to do the work with you, and is going to show up as much as you're going to show up for them. And when you're able to do this consciously, while you're recording the calls, you're taking feedback, in every session you have with your customers, you are thinking about what worked and didn't work. You're asking for feedback immediately. Don't ask at the end of a beta test because they forgot what they experienced. Ask them every time you have an experience or a session with a client, for example, because it's fresh in their mind. I always ask beta testers, like right away after we finish a session, what happened? How did that improve your results? How can I help better? What did you wish you had to learn more of? So immediately you ask that feedback, you're going to know more about how to improve that module, that step, or that piece that you just started to test out with your customer. And so what's going to happen as a benefit at the end of a beta test, when you're ready to sort of refine your offer and put it out there into the world, is you're going to be able to really see those steps, like whether or not some steps were sort of redundant, what steps needed to be expanded, in the journey you take with your clients. What did you need to teach differently, or how you teach differently that is going to bring more meaning into the way that they utilize your advice, right? How do they put theory into practice through your experience in the beta, and how you might improve that going forward with how you offer that. So this framework is really, imagine like a book, right? A book with a table of contents where, every chapter leads to the next chapter. That is also like, very much like that for your business, that every piece of the puzzle that you bring people through in that journey helps them grow more, helps them to learn more in the next grade or step of that process in order to reach the ultimate results, because they don't just go from overnight success, right? They don't go from A to B in one jump. There's might be different things and variety of things that you do in a sequence potentially that actually makes them or allows them to get to the results much faster. So having that framework is super important for you to know what you truly do and why people should pay you for those processes when you have a framework that can back it up as well. Okay, step 4, creating visibility. So after your beta testing, okay, this is going to take like at least a month, I think, as you beta test things, because you want to really dig in to your processes, and then be able to take a bit of a pause to start really looking at how are the ways I can speak about my business? How are the ways that I can take the insight and information and all the words that I really heard from my beta testers to define the way I position this offer, to design even the content that I'm putting out there? Because if you're blogging, if you're creating videos, it should be very likely topics or content that are relating to your framework, relating to what it is that you help with, relating to some of the aha moments your beta testers experience during the beta lab, right? Again, if you did the beta lab, this will feel a lot easier for you. So this visibility part of your business, right, in step 4, is about having better conversations in your business, because marketing is simply a conversation. It's not just Facebook ads. It's not just pretty designs. It's not just an awesome, Instagram story that you put out there. It's about the content. It's about what conversations do you want to start with your customers? What conversations matter to them right now? What topics are going to be the thing they thought about yesterday? Right? That's going to be creating the content, and you can choose how you deliver that, whether it is through Instagram stories or blog posts or webinars. Doesn't matter. But what matters is that, to be able to be seen, you have to start talking about things that matter to people so that people will notice you. It really just isn't about how you look in your pictures or, whether or not your videos look really cool. So marketing is that simply a conversation. So you have to think about what are the conversations that you think your customers are having. So if you're here on Crowdcast and joining me, I would love to hear about that. So when you think about your business idea, thinking about your side hustle, what do you think your customers want to talk about? That's very specific. What do you think pains them at night? What do you think they were just talking to their spouse about that's related to your business? When you think about their problems, what do you think are the questions that they're really asking that you could potentially be creating content around? Let me know in the chat box what you think. What conversation do you want to start with your audience that you think you haven't yet started, or you haven't gone deep enough in that conversation that you want to start more of today? So how do you start having better conversations? Well, you want to start with thinking about immediate pain points, not just what you know, because you're an expert. You are ahead of them in some way. What you're thinking about today in terms of your business and the problems you think you're solving may not be what they're thinking about as a first-time person, as a customer for you, right? The pain points are different potentially about where you're at and where they're at. So we want to go backwards in time to sort of serve our customer, right? So again, through your asking campaign, when you interview people, you start asking people through market research what they're struggling with. That is very likely the pain points that you want to construct as topics of what it is that you need to be doing to do your next live stream, to be your next blog post, to be your next training webinar, to be your next post on social media. What are the most inaugural questions people have all the time? What do you get asked about the most usually? What are the things that you see people having trouble with in the beginning before they can they have to overcome to step forth to the next level of understanding around their problems? You can give away your knowledge ahead of time. That's the way to actually be engaging an audience or building a list anyway, is that you're not only going to be activated and care only when someone buys, because in order to even lead them to buying or interested in being a subscriber or a follower of your work, you've got to actually showcase your work ahead of time. Stop hiding your knowledge. Stop saying, if I give it away, they'll never hire me. A lot of people feel that way. It's like, what if I give too much? What if I give too much of my expertise? And they're like, thanks for that. I don't need you anymore. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, people don't want more information. What your free stuff will do is going to show the credibility, really, of what you can do, right? Your credibility of what you're willing to do and what you can help with, giving them a win. A little win of understanding, of better ways of doing things, expediting their knowledge. When they can get that in a free thing, like a training or a live stream or a blog, they're going to wonder what's going to be like actually with a paid thing, if this is how much value I'm getting from that, So don't be afraid to give value. You can never give away too much, because here's the thing. People hire you not because they don't know what they should be doing. It's because they can't bring themselves to do it. They are fear. They have doubt. They have insecurities. And that's why they need you. Like I said, people are probably going to hire you for your support, for your coaching, for your mentorship, for the community that you're building, for the accountability that you set with your programs, for example. They are not only just buying information. So you want to be able to actually, give them a taste of what it's like to work with you by giving something full-heartedly, as if it's like a paid thing, in order to actually build that credibility and expertise that you need in the beginning of time. And using organic and intimate ways to connect is your best way of doing it. I still do this a lot more than I do things like ads and things like that, because real conversations have so much more impact. Way more impact than ever than clicking on a social media post. But inviting people to actually go, especially if people respond to your blogs, respond to your posts on Facebook, you want to start to go, wow, this post helped you. I would love to learn more about where you're at and give you some advice or help you move forward with the thing you're struggling with. Come on a call with me. Start having these conversations more often rather than relying on automation and your Facebook stuff or whatever it is your jam to start connecting. Because especially if your business is about working with humans directly, you've got to humanize your marketing by actually having better conversations, having real conversations. And maybe the call to action really for people is to actually start having talks with you, and that's going to be a better way to learn more about your customer, but actually be able to help them more organically so that you can then go, do you want me to help you in a more in-depth, consistent manner? Please, let's, look at ways that we can work together. So Angie says that I get a lot of questions about what cosmetics I use and I achieve different looks. For sure, So if you're in the sort of how-to game, but also, you want to talk a little bit about body image or beauty versions of what, a beautiful woman is, you can do that in conjunction with giving people a how-to in terms of cosmetics, for sure, and showing off, right, how you apply that makeup or what it's like to build self-confidence through cosmetics, that everybody is different. How do you show yourself through cosmetics? As you can say, you got questions about how to take care of their skin and create an easy routine. Excellent. Start showing them, what that looks like. Maybe it's a longer video. Maybe it's not just showcasing products to sell them, but actually taking the time to test out different products, let people know, maybe test it on different skin tones, not just on yourself, and being really, mindful about how much work you put into it, because it matters to the customer that is reading that, or watching that video. It's not just beautifying myself, but it's going through these different experiments with you through your own self-experiment, or you're recruiting other skin tones or whatever to apply that same product on, so that they know you're not just serving people that is in your skin tone and skin color, right? That's a really great way for you to be slightly different, Angie, than other people showing a how-to. And also in a way empowering women's body images and what they think is beauty, right? Put that makeup on, go ahead, sister, right? Do what you need to do to feel good, but don't think you have to cake it on just because, like wear ways that you can actually admire your own beauty, without having to use makeup as a way of a mask. How do we enhance your already features that you want to show more of? Makeup can be used in all sorts of ways. It doesn't have to be something that's just, beautifying to look like Kim Kardashian, like not everyone wants to be a Kim Kardashian. So, you really talk about a different message here in how people utilize cosmetics, actually, Angie, which is a great idea. So again, talking is great. So maybe with Angie, as again, most people are sort of maybe just video and it's a one-way street of information, but where are ways that you can actually be doing live stuff, So if maybe women, if you think a common topic for women is body image and self-image in such a, world that, girls have to be stick thin all the time, there's airbrushing happening in magazines all the time, maybe instead of just talking about cosmetics, you can invite people on a chat show. You can invite people on a live stream, for example, to talk about where these issues lie for young women that are learning these things through social media and magazines, how it's so completely unreasonable, and allowing your community to talk about that's beyond makeup, and that's really going to be great ways of building your tribe. So yes, they're going to talk about cosmetic or want to buy cosmetics from you in due time, but how you draw them in is this common value, this common cause that is going to bring them together, which I think is much more powerful to build a tribe around. All right, so after you built that validation and you are going out there talking about your work, you really are needing to do this consistently now, right? In order to, it's not an overnight thing. I mean, even for me, visibility is still very much a part of my weekly activities, because you always have to grow your tribe. You always have to do more with more people, and be able to expose yourself more to different markets, different audiences that haven't heard of you. So in due time, your content, your blogs will naturally and organically attract people, on Google and things like that. But you always want to be thinking about also, as you are very likely in full-time jobs, or you're planning a business that you want to be able to scale, right, and be sustainable in the future. You do have to create different disciplines and consistency to get to your goals. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. You want to plan to achieve small wins. So what I mean by that is, what I mean by that is that a lot of us are overly planning about the sort of end goal of, like, say, quitting my job, making 6 figures in my business, being able to travel with my work. Like, those are great future goals and probably your motivation again to start a business. But what is going to be matter more in what you need to be actually celebrating these days or working towards now is much more smaller, bite-sized goals, right? Knowing that you can actually achieve these goals in a short amount of time, rather than waiting to celebrate or waiting to pat yourself on the back only down the road, where the big goal you have might be a year from today, right? So being able to chunk down, first of all, your goals to smaller bite-sized goals, like milestones, month to month, is going to be allowing you to see that traction, see that momentum, work towards small things, in one go, rather than trying to achieve too many things and then losing that traction, or being just truly disappointed, or putting on too much on your plate. So I kind of believe in a bit of an approach of a 90-day plan rather than like a 1-year plan, because you can forecast about where you want to go, but what's going to matter in planning out your goals and the actions you need to do to achieve it is always going to be about today, the immediate goals I need to be achieving in order to reach my larger goals, right? So going back to achieving small wins, talking about 90-day plans, what you can start to really do, and this is what I do in all my programs, is that when you can construct a month by month up to 90 days, so 1 month could be one goal, for example, and then that way it focuses the boundaries of your attention, your focus, and your activities only about these goals, this one goal, right, in that month. So if you find yourself being distracted by something else that's beyond this month's goal, you're going to reel yourself back and actually go, nope, all I do is dedicate to completing this goal in order to move forward. And I tell you, that is going to be so much more effective for you when you think about incrementally, right, achieving these small wins rather than one big goal. You're going to start feeling better about, that things are happening for you. You're also not going to be jumping into multiple things where you're just doing everything 30%. You're really feeling a sense of completion before you move on to something. And that's way going to make you feel more organized and more efficient in the way that you are going towards your plan, right? Being able to leap from one area to another. But really, on a sense of self-confidence and motivation, we need to have small wins. We cannot keep waiting for a big win to happen. We have to have gratitude, of course, right, in all sorts of things we achieve, but also be able to see that and be proud of something small that we have been doing as one of the building blocks to reach our bigger goals. So that sense of motivation and drive is going to come for when you can pat yourself in the back a lot more often. In the idea of creating the discipline and commitment, we have to really be creating time as well, right? How many times do we say, I don't have time, I got busy, right? But ultimately, it's about priorities. Because the thing is, you only spend time, or you should be spending time on things that you feel and deem important. And likely, if you don't think you have time, it could also be that there might be things in your schedule that you are spending time on that isn't that important, or was important and isn't anymore, or is less important than this goal that you currently have about building a new life and having the goals of being a business owner. So you have to choose. You have to decide where you spend your time. And so you have to be consciously be allocating every hour of the day to something purposeful, something that is meaningful. Now, again, you might be going to a full-time job from a 9 to 5, and that's fine because it is meaningful for you and beneficial for you to earn a living, to take care of yourself for sure. And so that's fine. That's something you have to do. But all the other times that are not accounted for, after work, weekends, things like that, where are you spending your time then? So you do want to sort of take an inventory of identifying where you're spending most of your energy and time for just 1 week. Just look at a week and see where you spend your time, because very likely when you say, I don't have time, you just haven't prioritized, on the important things. So take inventory of that, like really in a journal or a notepad, every time you go and do something, note what you're doing, and in a scale of 1 to 5, how important was that thing you were doing? Or did you do it because it was routine, or it's because you don't want to disappoint somebody? When you take the inventory of time for a week, you see which areas you can exchange, right? To create more time for your side hustle building. You can know what are, maybe wine and cheese night with the girls on Friday nights used to happen every week. But now I'm going to do it every 2 weeks because I want to dedicate more time to my business plans. I want to dedicate more time to learning more about how I can be a business owner. And that's more important to me these days. So I have to tell my girls that's what's going on without sacrificing social time. I'm just going to, not do it every week. And so when you understand where the areas of time that you can create consistency to focus on your business stuff, to focus on being a part of a learning program, let's say, which is part of your business building activities, or, doing the market research stuff we talked about, or beta testing your business, you need to really be consistent in what those days look like, not to have different days every single week. If you've been doing that, this is why your routine, your habit hasn't kicked into effect. So you want to use those time blocks. Start with days that you know for sure you can dedicate to. So if after work on a Monday where, life gets really busy on a Monday, isn't the right time, don't do Mondays. Choose Fridays after work to start with. Choose a half day on a Saturday or Sunday to work on your business. Don't overdo the time blocks, but start to get your habits and routines a little bit more built up before you start adding more time, into your weeks, right? So time block the same day, the same time for every week to create that discipline. It'll probably take a bit more than a month to get that going for you. And then once that feels like routine, you can decide to do more. But prove to yourself first that you can stick to that, right? And make time to stick to that. Reserve it in your calendars, reserve it on your phone, have alarms that go off when it's time to work on your business so that it really is like going to work, okay? And you have to learn to say no to, doing some of the leisurely activities that you used to do potentially, in order to say yes to more of your priorities if this, idea of starting a business, having a better life is going to be in bigger priority for you these days. Another thing to think about when it comes to consistency and discipline of persevering really in your business is imperfect action. This is a big theme of what myself and my students really talk about, is because a lot of the times what I found with most people is that they're not moving with anything at all because they're waiting for the perfect thing to happen in order to take action. And actually, it is in imperfect action, it is in action that clarity grows. What you're gray about these days is going to be solved by you actually putting some version of something out there, right? Because the focus is on incremental results, one tiny action at a time, not one big action at a time, because that's just never going to happen. So in order for you to be consistent in persevering towards your business, is not to keep waiting, but actually to know that every week you are actually putting one thing out there. You're actually going for it and shipping before you're ready, because that's the only way to learn and that's the only way to get feedback. If you don't get out there in the field of play, you will never truly know what you can experience, what you need to improve on, and what you can refine in your business or how you do your work without the feedback of other humans, right? Just like the stuff we talked about with beta testing, in the mindset of building a business, everybody that has built any not perfect business, but successful business has to actually been, all they're doing differently is they're just being out there more often. They're talking about their work more often. They are selling things that aren't, obviously, the most perfect thing ever, but improving as they do more work. And if you adapt this mindset, if you adapt this mindset for yourself, you're never going to be scared to sort of be a perfectionist, because actually being a perfectionist is what got you stuck in the first place. And maybe that works a lot in corporations because, people do sort of expect perfection there. But in a business as an entrepreneur, it really isn't what's going to be conducive. The whole point of being an entrepreneur is experimentation, is being able to actually do it your way. And that is actually going to feel really scary in the beginning of time, but very likely it's just that unlearning of the way we've been judged in the past when we make mistakes, how we have been criticized by our work, our corporate work and our colleagues, and we sort of feel afraid to ever, put things out there again. But in a business is an opportunity for you to unlearn those things, make those mistakes, and know that nobody notices it as much as you do. But what they're going to notice more is like, as you improve in your work, as you put more of your work out there, they're going to realize that you care. Right. And that's what people are really drawn to. People are fine with mistakes as long as you use it as a way to improve how you help them as well. And another way to sort of find your discipline in your business is to find your weirdos. And what I mean by that is, when you are doing this for the first time, when you are building a business for the first time, when you are looking at ways to reinvent your life, very likely you might feel you're the only person that is thinking this or wanting this in your circle of friends. So what I mean by find your weirdos is that you need to find people that are also a big believer in this concept, that are also not going to think you're absolutely crazy for wanting a life that is outside of the conventional 9 to 5. You want to find people that have common goals that can support you, but also you only know what you know. So what that also means is that you want to find people a little bit smarter than you. You want to find people that are doing what you want to do. You want to find people who have a lifestyle that you want to be achieving so that you can learn from them, you can get support from them, and you're not just in an echo chamber, of people that either don't want what you want or in the same stage of where you're at. A camaraderie of like-minded people will help you to feel supported, right? We need to feel a sense of belongingness. That's what motivates us to continue persevering something, is to feel heard, is to feel seen, is to feel that what we're doing is being validated, and you cannot be your own cheerleader at times. So being able to get that feedback from other people, that believe in what you're doing is super important to keep going. It also lets you stay in your genius zone. And what I mean by that is that, you're not trying to do all the things in business or trying to be an expert in all the things in your business, because you're going to start to get help from other people's genius zone. Maybe someone else is a better copywriter. Maybe someone else is a better web designer and can give you help with that, or give you feedback on that, or support on where you might not be as good as that as something else. So you can focus your time on what you do best in your business while getting help from other people. If you can find your community, find, programs or memberships or whatever that you can have consistent appearances, right? Or work that you can do with these people, is going to, again, keep your eyes on the prize, towards that accountability that you need to keep going. And like I said, feedback is crucial. We need to always know that what we're doing, someone else also thinks is a good idea. We want to be challenged, or you should be challenged on your ideas so that you can improve. And you don't want to talk to yourself anymore, right? So part of the reason why people sort of like stop doing their business or get discouraged is because they can't self-motivate anymore. It's really hard to feel fearful about doing something new and then being a cheerleader as well. Like, you're not in the same emotional state of mind. So you have to depend and rely on other people to keep you going when the going gets tough. So talking about keeping going when the going gets tough is about accountability, right? How do we continue to do things that feel difficult? How do we continue to go towards the unknown and keep our eyes on the prize of pursuing something that feels scary, like building a business for the first time? We do need systems to hold us accountable, right? It's like going to the gym. You don't really want to go to the gym. I mean, who does, right? At some point you enjoy the gym, but in the beginning you just don't. Like, who wants to do that and eat like steamed veggies all day? But we keep ourselves accountable by hiring a trainer, by having someone that we maybe reveal our weight loss to, if that's a goal that we have. We tell our spouses, don't eat that piece of steak in front of me because it is hard for me right now. Don't just, can we try to eat something else? Can you support me in that healthy living until I built the habit of being able to do that on my own? We need to be able to have these systems of people or a routine or a place that we can feel safe in, to make sure that we're continuously working towards our goals. And consistent routine is what trains our habit, right? The brain is malleable, but if you keep it in a consistent routine and focus, that they know they're doing that every day now or every week now, is going to eventually build that muscle of that habit, and it's going to feel a little bit easier, right? They say it's something like, 30 or 60 days to build a habit. And that consistency is what you need to build. And that's why I talk about time blocking the same day and same time for like a whole month, because that's going to build that muscle of like expectation from yourself that this is when you show up, this is when you commit, I mean, you do that all the time, every day for work, right? You never skip work because you know you got to go, right? There's people that rely on you. There's a paycheck to be made, but also you get up and immediately your routine's to go to work, right? So it becomes a normal thing, right, in your life. So you want to make that accountability to your business normalized as well in your life. Prepare a pattern interrupt for your default checkout behavior when the going gets tough. What I mean by a pattern interrupt is, you know yourself best, right? When things get tough, when you doubt yourself, when you feel unconfident about doing something, what is your first default thing to do? Sometimes you just procrastinate. Sometimes you self-talk yourself out of something. Sometimes you start to be really tough on yourself. You're like, oh my God, you should have known that. Why the hell are you having trouble with this? Look at this other person. They're much better than you. Or maybe your default behavior is comparing yourself to someone else. Wow, they're so much better than me. How could I ever compare, right? Share with me your default behavior when going gets tough in the chat box if you have one, because very likely we have very similar ones. So you know your default checkout behavior when the going gets tough. So preparing a pattern interrupt means if you think about it as a forecast, if that was to happen again, which probably will, what would you do differently? How can you set a condition at that moment in time so that you're not going into default behavior? And that's your accountability again to yourself. Sometimes it's about calling a friend. Sometimes it's about, when that happens, I'm going to start to have more empathy towards myself so that that negative voice, that critical mind that usually comes about, is being interrupted. My voice of positivity is going to drown that default voice instead. It might be about, I'm going to have a pattern interrupt by hiring a coach, or being a part of a community that I can go to right away, instead of going, here's how I feel, help me through it, help me to not think about this in this way. How can I outsource that worry to someone else? Maybe it's a time that you speak to a friend about it, or a spouse about it, or a default, behavior could be like, you just sort of look at a problem and then feel bad about it. But a pattern interrupt is, you might say to yourself, okay, I'm going to get real curious about that problem. Let's say I put my emotions and be detached from it. What else could I see about this problem that I can actually be logically thinking about if it wasn't about me? It was someone else's problem. And that's, again, a pattern interrupt, because it's creating a new action to absorb, what this problem means to you, right? So preparing all that beforehand in your mindset before it happens is a really, really great way for you to not check out early, because this is one of the biggest things, is people check out of their dreams before they're ready to do so. Because it's just when something feels difficult, they assume that means they're not supposed to do it at all. They assume that they're not good enough to do it, right? They assume that they should have not been feeling this way if this was meant for them in their journey. And that is really completely unrealistic and wrong. And it's not truthful. All of us come with, setbacks. All of us come with fear, but it's the perseverance to continue despite that is going to be the reason why you're successful compared to other people. And really, when you tell other people, when you get help from other people and recruit them enroll them into your dreams, you are making your goals public. And when you make your goals public, you are fueled by acknowledgement, inspiration, and validation for your work. When you've set the tone, where you're like, here's what I'm doing now, you have now made it real. You have now you're making it into a very serious thing for yourself, and other people can come in to support you, but also you've said it. And that, in some regard, you don't want to fail yourself or other people. So you are fueled and you are driven by the fact that you have really made it known that these are your goals, right? And I think that power of just talking to someone about your goals, being able to enroll people into your goals, is absolutely going to be that accountability again that you need to keep your eyes on the prize. Hope that was helpful for you looking at discipline. Breaking down your goals. We talked about chunking down goals, right? Plan for 90 days. Make them achievable. Make them reachable. Don't overthink your goals to the future. And actually think about what's necessary for you to do today. So we talked a lot about stages of business today, what activities you should be doing according to your stage. That should be more of your immediate goals rather than I'm going to plan where I'm going to live when I can be location independent. I'm going to plan, where to get my customer, how to market myself, when actually your foundational part of your stage of business isn't revealed yet. So you want to think really critically about what is most important for you to work on based on what are the burning questions you have about your business today. Okay, so one goal a month is great, especially if you're working full time. Break that goal down, reverse engineer what you think you have to do, what you think you have to get clear on, what you think you need to start asking more about to reach that goal of what that first month looks like for you. And again, goals are nothing unless you set time to actually be working on those activities to reach those goals. So using the idea of time blocking, again, literally looking at your schedule, looking at blocks of time to create, to actually be putting the details of the actions that you'll be working on during that time is, again, going to keep you much more organized in what those time blocks are for, that every hour is accounted for, and that by the time the end of the month comes into fruition, you have really done a lot towards getting clarity for that goal to be able to move forward into goal number 2 in the next month. So breaking down, chunking down things to bite size will make you feel they're definitely more achievable. And again, better for motivation, okay? All right, so we're moving on to burning questions for the Q&A. So I know some of you have already put some questions on the Ask a Question tab. I would love for you to put a question there if you still have one. I'll answer that for you. I'm mindful of time that we talked about a lot today. But before we get into the Q&A, one of the last things I want to just quickly remind you of is that a lot of what we cover today, we do more in depth and make sure you get your own plan of escape from your 9 to 5, whether it's transition plan, as well as your business building plan. We do that in a retreat, including we do this in all our programs, really. The framework of what we do here is going to be done in more of a live format in retreats. And retreats are a really great thing to be experiential. It's a very different format of teaching this. But also you get to meet these amazing people and learn from people who are living the lives that you want to live. And are also in location-independent businesses that you want to build. And if you are craving a bit of a holiday and a learning experience, this Bali retreat, your next big thing, is going to be an excellent combination of that. We bring in so many great guest mentors. I'm there with you 7 days. Like, imagine waking up where you think about your own business, think about your life, focus on that for all day for 7 days, and go to sleep. Also, again, incubating for yourself, right? No distractions in regular life, not thinking about other work, not thinking about your family, not thinking about all the things that you have to do in real life, but really focused on what you want to do for your life and your work. And so that incubation, that integrative time we have together is so powerful in 7 days, and so much gets done in the time that we have together. So by the time you leave, you have a full plan of action. You know exactly how to build your business and your body of work. You know how to articulate the value of your work, and you're no longer hazy in sort of the steps of what you need to be doing. And we're really going to help you gain that traction live and in person in Bali. Here are some of the testimonials that we have from past retreat participants. A lot of what people get out of it is we are able to simplify all their ideas, bring all their multi-passions into one body of work, where they're able to find the bigger message around their work. They can really have tangible ways to find their voice and craft a business that's going to be more than just making money. It's going to bring meaning and fulfillment. And there's so much conversation and feedback and discussions around this. Heather is someone that joined us while she was still in a job, and now she has quit her job. She's living in Thailand right now. And a lot of what she learned in the retreat was how to be more independent, how to be more, she's an introvert, so how to be more vocal about the work that she wants to do without being an extrovert, and actually be more confident about some of the skill sets she's bringing from her history of her work into a new cause, into a new business she now can be proud of. Amy was also someone working in a family business. She thought she was sort of coming here to learn more about, how to build a better business. But what she also came here to learn is sort of some of the other more holistic things she had to really be implementing in her life, which is not being scared to tell her family in the family business she's helping to run that this is something that's important to her too. How to create better relationships in her family to get the support she needs. She also thought a lot about the transition, choose one or the other at this point, and how to make her current role in her corporate job much more fun and meaningful rather than dread going to work and have resentment towards it. So that was sort of what she discovered a lot as well. And also her story, which was so conducive to actually the business she wants to build, which she never thought about in the beginning of time. which is sometimes what we discover at the retreat. So if you go to the button again underneath this video, you'll see a lot of these video testimonials from Heather and Amy, and you'll be able to see if you are a good fit for the retreat, and if some of their outcomes are also some of the outcomes that you want to achieve in a retreat like this. So essentially, we make it easy for you to carve out time, right? Even that 7 days is a great way of focusing in 7 days and 7 weeks, really, because you're finally really right there, present for your goals, without just working on it here and there and then checking out again, procrastinating, and coming back into it. A point of an incubated experience like this is to commit, right, to this time to plan out your goals. We also help you to choose goals that work. Goals that work for you and most important to you. There's a little bit of a typo there, because not everybody's goals are the same. Not everybody's mandate is the same, and not every goal is business related either. And what we want to bring your attention to is what you need to achieve immediately. We also make it easy for you to overcome perfectionism, how to simplify your business plan, how to simplify your approach in your personal and professional obstacles, and take that imperfect action approach to persevere. You will learn this in the retreat, and you'll be able to apply it as a tool to doing things more effectively and faster, to not get stuck for another year of your dreams in the back burner. You're also going to be learning the steps and strategies to transition from your 9-to-5 and start a side hustle. You're going to be able to learn how to plan out your personal life, your budgeting, your finances, and also, obviously, your side hustle ideas. We're also going to help you to feel confident. We're going to talk more about your work, your opportunities to present your work as well to the community that we have in our retreat, and be able to have a practice round in a way of how you market, how you talk about your work, how you communicate ahead of time when you are there, so that when you launch, you really know how to articulate that. So it is an all-inclusive retreat. It's all the accommodation in a luxurious accommodation. There's a video on our Bali retreat page to show you where you'll be staying. We have chef-prepared meals every day. They're organic. They're amazing. Bali has some of the most amazing, healthy, yummy food. There's a welcome dinner and social night you come into to start with. There's excursions that we see the real Bali with. We have a spa massage when you arrive, which is to relax you. And we have tons of time with intimate coaching, group collaboration, learning, and planning, in conjunction with guest speakers and mentors you're going to meet and learn from as well, not just me. We're also throwing in a really awesome and fun bonus, which is a private photo shoot in Bali. So many of our participants brought back some of those photos for their website, for their new brand. And that was such a great way to have some memories from the retreat as well. An additional bonus is that you get a private one-on-one coaching session with me after the retreat, so that I can hold you accountable. I can revisit some of the plans that we worked out today and make sure that you too are focused on the prize, okay? So again, the retreat's April 22nd to the 28th. So you can book a call with me to see if you're the right fit. We can talk a bit more about your plan and seeing how the retreat can potentially help you. So make sure to press that button, because that retreat is starting quite soon, okay? So button below the video, and we can have a chat about what strategies I can advise you on based on where you're at with your business and what are your key priorities for your life and work goals. All right, so my A to your Q time, some Q&A time. Before we end this training. I hope that was helpful to you. I've been reading a bit about stuff that you've learned in the chat box, which is awesome. I'll bring myself back here on video. I was a little bit of a small little video. I think you can see me now. All right, let's start with the first question, which was from Thomas Bowler that submitted this question during my live stream yesterday. Side hustle question, how do I build... Okay, I'm going to click the timestamp here. He asked, how do I build credibility? It's hard to sell yourself in a business when you don't have a big brand. So that's great. Thomas, if you're listening to this, we covered a lot of this in this webinar about, being able to actually teach things now without having a website, being able to beta test first, things that you want to actually be giving in your business or giving value through your business ahead of time, and actually be able to sell yourself by having those testimonials, having that credibility and social proof ahead of time. And if you haven't done that, that is something you want to watch as part of this video to learn to build that ask campaign and also to set up a beta lab. The second thing, Thomas, when we talked about visibility, it's not about selling yourself all the time. It's about being able to showcase your abilities even before people buy. So my question to you, Thomas, is have you started giving things away? Have you started teaching what you know? Have you started doing things for free? Have you started creating better conversations in your work, because that is actually how you sell yourself. There's no sales really in the process. It's really about helping, thinking about how you help, how many people you have helped, how many people you invite on a call to help. If you haven't done all that, it's very likely that's why you haven't been able to be seen. So your amount of conversations will relate to the amount of sales you're going to get. So if your bank account looks a little low or you're not getting clients, it's very likely that you are not having enough conversations. So my challenge to you, Thomas, is really going back to that part of the webinar we talked about here, but also thinking about for yourself, how many ways you can have better conversations, how many ways you can help further. Could you do more holistic approaches, like inviting people on a call, giving away a free training, inviting people to have better conversations with you, more holistic approaches than selling, because that will then sometimes skew what is truly going to matter, which is building better relationships with your audience. So that is the angle that I would love for you to take. How can you build better relationships holistically, showcasing your abilities without relying on things like automation and some of that, the strategies that you probably see other people doing, but maybe it's not the thing you should be doing, especially as a beginning business owner that actually needs to put more face into your business as well. Okay. I hope that was helpful, Thomas. And also, again, I think part of this webinar for the visibility stuff, what we talked about is going to help you with that. Okay, Angie, your question is, how do you work on getting past negative feedback or rejection at any stage of your business plan? Excellent question. Okay, so here's the thing. Even 5 years into my business, I constantly get critics, because the more you put yourself out there, Angie, the more critics you're going to get. But also, in conjunction with that, you're also going to get a lot of fans, because you're not being neutral in your point of view. As I said, you're not here to serve everyone. So the right people that need to hear your voice, like what you do, are a particular flavor of a person. And those are the people that you focus on. And also accept, maybe the big thing that I think about criticism is that, first of all, there's benefits to criticism. Sometimes they're worth to be heard because there's a sense of improvement there. You can improve your work through feedback. But if they're trolls, like people just want to, I remember one time someone said to me, I wish your mouth didn't move like that. He thought that I had an Elvis lip when I moved, that when certain words that I was talking sort of went that way. And I do, I have a lisp, and, sometimes it talks in a certain way, but that's a critical, thing that he said to me on my YouTube channel that had nothing to do with my work. So for people like that, I'm just like, be gone with you. I don't even need to respond to that. But if someone was like, hey, I don't agree with that point of view, what about this, or I think you weren't clear enough when it comes to this thing you were talking about. Hey, that's a great challenge. And I don't have to look at that as a criticism. I can thank them for their feedback and go, hey, I didn't notice that. Let me do that better again the next time, So not every critic you should be looking at. But we also have to be looking at the past negative feedback you have received. It's usually a reflection on how other people receive it. So it always depends. Like you may have done the same thing to someone else and not get a critical feedback. And then for someone else who heard it differently, they would, again, would be criticized and then express themselves. But you don't need to get past anything. You can just take it for what it is. That person felt that way in their own projection of what they feel is best for them. They're giving you a feedback that you can respect and empathize with. It may not have to change how you feel about yourself and what you think you have to do. You can just acknowledge them, right? Or you can just say, I acknowledge them and that's it. I'm moving past that. Someone else may not have a problem with that, So the rejection part is that, when you feel bad about yourself, when you make it mean something to you, it means something to your identity. That's when you feel that you're stuck and you're going to be that person. So if someone ever said to you, when you did that thing, you were a horrible person and blah, blah, blah. And, if you identify yourself with what they say, instead of just going, well, that's just the reflection of what they want, and what is something that's meaningful for them to talk about, and I can empathize with that, but it may not necessarily change what I think is best, or I may not have done that differently, actually. So we have to move on from that. You got to stop making it mean that just because someone has a feedback for you is based on everybody else's opinion in the whole wide world. It's just an opinion based on that person's perception of you. It's only isolated to that circumstance, to that person. Now, that should not affect your future stuff, future relationships, future things you put out there, because it's, again, a brand new circumstance. So don't make it linked to who you are today, okay? Even if mistakes you have hurt people in the past, that's fine to accept that and know that you've learned from that and you're not going to do that again. So you don't have to worry about bringing that weight of rejection into this new version of your life. Okay. But also know, like I said, every time you do anything big with your life, you will get critics, but not to take it personally, not to make it mean something. And if it's something that's worthwhile, a constructive criticism, you can ask better questions. Why do they feel that way? What could you expand more around that they weren't clear about, hence why they had a feedback, you know? So utilize it. And if you sort of stand a little bit of a distance emotionally around those critical people, you can actually utilize them as allies. A lot of people that have criticized me in the past, when I actually don't shun them and sort of go, you know what, thank you for your feedback. Thank you for being that interesting question. As long as they're not, you know, being insulting and offensive, I will give them the time of day and go, let's have a conversation about it. That's interesting. You have this different point of view. And very likely when I understand where they're coming from, I'm like, oh, no wonder they feel this way. I didn't feel this way, so that's why I didn't talk about that. But you know what? Thank you for that. Thank you for expanding my point of view and perspective. I'm going to do another video just on this question. And then they feel so great about that I paid attention to them, that they went from critic to a fan, you know? And I think that is the responsible way to handle critics, the ones that deserve it anyway, and actually letting it do better in your work, letting you improve your work that way as well. Okay, Angie? Hope that was helpful. All right, last question of the day. Again, if you have any more, please let me know. When I hear, this is coming from Tara, when I hear market research, I traditionally think of more than 3 to 5 people. Have you found that it is enough and having more is incrementally better? Or are there cycles of marketing research to refine what you deliver? Just thinking about what is enough. Great question. Okay, let me timestamp this for you, Tara. Okay, so market research can be done in many ways. So now, if you're doing something like a survey, which I've done as well, every year I do a survey of my community because they can upgrade, you know, they could have different ways of explaining themselves these days or what they believe is their goal these days. So I like to revisit and not always think about what I knew about my audience 5 years ago is still what's going on. That's not true, right? So when you're doing something like a survey, which has sort of like solid answers, right? Pick question like a multiple choice questions, one, you know, small lines to answer. You're sort of getting perspectives from like a larger group of people. What are you going to get in this form like a survey when you have like, you can have more people to do that survey? There's pros and cons to that. The pro of that is that you get more feedback from more people. You can have a more qualitative and quantitative data research report from that. The con of that is that from a survey, because it's so static, it's just, you know, something you do online, you may not have the opportunity to sort of ask them why they think what they think, because it's sort of digital and static. The reason why I advocate interviews for 2 reasons. One, you don't have to ask as many people because you can dive deeper as long as you're handpicking the true profile of a person that fits your ideal customer. It may not be the last time you interview people, but because of that intimacy of a live interview, you're going to get a lot more information and you're going to dig a lot deeper to get more insights rather than versus a static survey. Now you could do a combination of both, Tara. You can start with a survey where you get a multiple, you know, 20, 30 people doing the survey, giving you that essential sense of understanding of majority of people's thoughts, you know.